before we begin, take a breath. Feel the air moving in and out. You are not your thoughts, not your past, not even the story that brought you here. If this moment feels quiet, that is not emptiness. It is space. And in that space, you begin to wake up. If you wish to explore this depth of awareness, to live from stillness rather than from noise, subscribe, and let us journey into the now together. There is a silence that lives beneath all sound, a stillness that exists before thought arises. And in that silence, in that stillness, something extraordinary waits to be discovered. Not something new, but something ancient, something that has always been here, watching, witnessing, simply being. You have felt it before, perhaps in those rare moments when a mind grows quiet, when the endless stream of thinking pauses for just a breath, and suddenly there is space. In that space, you are not the person you thought you were. You are not the story, not the history, not the accumulated weight of all those years. You are something else entirely, something that cannot be named, cannot be grasped, and yet is more real than anything you have ever known. The human mind is a magnificent instrument, capable of extraordinary things, and yet it has become the master rather than the servant. From the moment you wake until the moment you sleep, and even in sleep itself, the mind churns, produces, creates endless narratives about who you are, what happened, what might happen, what should have happened. It builds itself out of memory and anticipation, out of judgment and comparison. And this self, this mental construct, believes itself to be you. It defends itself fiercely, for it knows, somewhere in its depths, that it is not real, that it is merely a collection of thoughts held together by repetition and belief. When someone criticizes you, when someone questions your choices, your character, your worth, something inside immediately tightens. There is contraction, a pulling inward, and then almost instantly, a pushing outward. The mind rushes to defend, to explain, to justify, to prove that you are right and they are wrong. This reaction is so swift, so automatic, that you barely notice it happening. It feels like survival, like something essential is at stake. And in a way, something is at stake, but it is not what you think. What is threatened is not your true nature, not your being, but the mental image you constructed of yourself, the story you tell about who you are. This story is fragile. It requires constant maintenance, constant reinforcement. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to strengthen the story or threat that might weaken it. When someone sees you differently than you see yourself, when their perception does not match your self-image, the ego experiences this as an attack. Not a physical attack, but something that feels equally dangerous to the mind that has identified completely with thought. The ego is nothing more than a pattern of thinking that has convinced itself it is a separate, independent entity, and it will do anything to preserve that illusion. But what if you did not defend yourself? What if, when criticism came, when judgment arrived, when someone misunderstood you or accused you or diminished you, you simply remained still? Not still in the sense of suppression, not forcing yourself to be quiet while inside you rage and resist, but truly still, resting in a deeper awareness that knows it cannot be threatened by words, by opinions, by the shifting perceptions of others. This stillness is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is the most profound strength available to a human being, because it comes from a place that is not dependent on external validation, not built on approval or disapproval of others. To understand this, you must first understand what you are defending. You are defending a mental construct, an image, a collection of beliefs about yourself that you have accumulated over time. Some of these beliefs came from your parents, from your culture, from your experiences. Some you created yourself, deciding who you needed to be in order to be safe, to be loved, to be accepted. Over the years, this image became solid, became real to you, and now you carry it everywhere, constantly comparing to reality, constantly adjusting it, protecting it, promoting it. When someone challenges this image, the ego interprets it as a threat to your very existence. Even though the image is not you at all, who are you really beneath the image? Beneath the story of your past, beneath the roles you play, beneath the labels you have accepted or rejected. If you strip away the thoughts about yourself, the memories, the judgments, the hopes and fears, what remains? This is not a philosophical question meant to be answered with more thinking. It is an invitation to look, to turn your attention inward, not to find another concept, but to discover the awareness that is looking. This awareness is always here, always present, always still. It does not defend itself because it cannot be attacked. It does not need to prove itself because it simply is. When you rest in this awareness, even for a moment, something shifts. The urgency to defend dissolves. The need to be right loses its grip. You begin to see that the criticism, the judgment, the misunderstanding is not about you at all. It is about the other person's story, their conditioning, their pain, their own mental constructs colliding with yours. And in that seeing, there is freedom. Not freedom from a situation, but freedom within it. You are no longer trapped in the reactive pattern of the ego. You are present, awake, responsive rather than reactive. This does not mean you become a doormat, allowing others to treat you however they wish. There is a difference between defending the ego and setting healthy boundaries. A boundary comes from clarity, from a deep knowing of what is aligned with your well-being and what is not. It is not reactive. It is not fueled by anger or fear or the need to prove something. It simply states what is true for you in this moment, without attachment to whether the other person agrees or understands. The ego defends because it feels attacked. Awareness responds because it sees clearly what is needed. Consider the nature of defense itself. When you defend yourself, you are engaging with the accusation, giving it energy, making it real. You are entering into a battle of perspectives. Try and convince the other person that your story is more accurate than theirs. But stories are just stories. They are interpretations, mental constructs, ways of organizing experience into narrative. No story is the absolute truth. Every story is partial, limited by the perspective from which it is told. When you defend your story, you're trying to make your limited perspective into the only perspective, and this is exhausting, futile, and ultimately impossible. The ego loves to be right. It feeds on being right. Every time you prove someone wrong, every time you win an argument, every time you successfully defend your position, the ego grows stronger, more solid, more convinced of its own reality. And yet, this strength is false. It is built on opposition, on separation, on the belief that you are a separate self that must constantly assert itself against other separate selves. This is the root of all conflict, all suffering, all violence in the world. Not the disagreements themselves, but the identification with mental position, the belief that I am my thoughts, and therefore if you challenge my thoughts, you challenge me, but you are not your thoughts. This is the great revelation, the insight that changes everything. You are the awareness in which thoughts arise. You are the space in which the story unfolds. You are the consciousness that witnesses the ego's endless drama without being caught in it. When you know this, truly know this, not as an idea but as a lived reality, the need to defend yourself simply falls away. How can awareness be threatened? How can consciousness be diminished by someone's opinion? It cannot. It is untouchable, unchangeable, eternal. This knowing does not come from thinking about it. The mind cannot think its way out of identification with thought. It comes from presence, from bringing your attention fully into this moment, into the sensations of your body, the rhythm of your breath, the aliveness that pulses through you right now. In this moment, there is no story. There is no past to defend, no future to protect. There is only what is, and what is always enough. The mind will tell you otherwise. It will say you need to plan, to remember, to analyze, to defend. And yes, there is a place for thinking, for practical problem solving, for learning from the past. But when thinking becomes compulsive, when it dominates your entire experience, you lose touch with the deeper dimension of yourself, the dimension that is always at peace, always whole, always free. Watch the mind when it wants to defend. Do not try to stop it. Do not judge it. Simply watch. See how quickly it moves, how clever it is, how it constructs arguments and justifications, how it replays conversations, imagining what you should have said, what you will say next time. See how exhausting this is, how much energy it consumes, how it keeps you trapped in a loop of resistance and reaction. And in the watching, in the simple act of observing without judgment, something begins to shift. The identification loosens. You are no longer the thought. You are the one watching the thought. And in that space between you and the thought, there's freedom. This freedom is not something you achieve or attain. It is what you are when you stop identifying with what you are not. It is your natural state, obscured by layers of conditioning, by years of believing the mind's stories about who you are and who you should be. Every time you choose not to defend, every time you allow criticism to pass through you without resistance, you are peeling away another layer, returning to the simplicity of being, to the quiet joy of existence itself. There is a profound peace in not defending yourself. It is a peace of surrender. Not surrender to another person's will, but surrender to what is. When someone criticizes you and you do not defend, you are saying yes to this moment exactly as it is. You are not trying to change it, fix it, or make it different. You are allowing it to be, and in that allowing, the situation loses its power over you. The other person's word become just words, sounds in the air, vibrations that arise and pass away. They do not stick to you. They do not define you. They simply are, and then they are gone. This is not indifference. It is not coldness or detachment. It is a deep acceptance of the human condition, an understanding that everyone is operating from their own level of consciousness, their own conditioning, their own pain. When someone attacks you, they are not really seeing you. They are seeing their own projection, their own story, their own unresolved wounds. If you take it personally, if you defend against it, you are also not seeing clearly. You are reacting from your own conditioning, your own story, your own wounds. But if you remain present, if you stay rooted in awareness, you can see the situation for what it is, a meeting of two stories, two egos, two patterns of thought, and you can choose not to participate in the drama. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you never defended yourself again, not in a forced way, not as a rule or a discipline, but as a natural expression of your deepening awareness. Imagine the lightness, the ease, the freedom from the constant need to manage how others perceive you. Imagine the energy that will be freed up, energy that is currently consumed by mental arguments, by rehearsing conversations, by building cases for why you are right and they are wrong. Imagine the relationships that would transform when you stop meeting ego with ego, when you bring presence instead of resistance, when you listen without the need to correct or convince. This is not a fantasy. This is available to you right now, in this moment, not as a permanent state that you achieve once and for all, but as a choice you make again and again, moment by moment, situation by situation. Each time you feel the urge to defend, you have an opportunity. You can follow the old pattern, engage with the ego, enter into the drama, or you can pause, breathe, feel the aliveness in your body, and choose presence. Sometimes you will forget. Sometimes the reaction will be so fast, so automatic, that you will find yourself defending before you even realize what is happening. This is okay. This is part of the process. The important thing is not to be perfect, but to be aware, to notice when it happens, to learn from it, to gradually weaken the pattern through the light of consciousness. The ego is like a muscle that has been exercised for years, decades, perhaps your entire life. It is strong, habitual, deeply ingrained. Awareness is also like a muscle, but one that has been neglected, forgotten, allowed to atrophy. As you practice presence, as you choose not to defend, as you rest in the stillness beneath thought, this muscle of awareness grows stronger. It becomes easier to access, more natural, more available, and gradually, imperceptibly, the balance shifts. The ego loses its dominance. Awareness becomes your primary mode of being, and life, which once felt like a constant battle, an endless series of problems to solve and threats to defend against, begins to feel like something else entirely. It begins to feel like a dance, a flow, a continuous unfolding of moments, each one fresh, each one new, each one containing within it the fullness of existence. Problems still arise, challenges still come, people still misunderstand you, criticize you, judge you, but none of it touches the deeper dimension of who you are. You respond to what needs to be responded to. You take action when action is needed, but you do it from a place of clarity and peace rather than from fear and resistance. And this changes everything. There is a story, perhaps you have heard it, of a Zen master who was accused of fathering a child with a young woman in the village. When the angry parents brought the baby to him and demanded he take responsibility, he simply said, "Is that so?" and took the child in. He cared for the baby for a year, without complaint, without defense, without trying to clear his name. Then the young woman, overcome with guilt, confessed that the real father was a young man in the village, and the parents came back to the Zen master, apologizing profusely, asking for the child back. And he simply said, "Is that so?" and gave the child back. No defense, no attachment to being right, no need to make them wrong. Just presence, just acceptance, just a deep equanimity that comes from not being identified with the story. This is the freedom that is available when you do not defend yourself. It is not that you become passive or weak. It is that you become so rooted in your true nature that the opinions of others, the judgments, the misunderstandings cannot shake you. You know who you are, not as a concept, not as a story, but as a living reality, and that knowing is unshakable. It does not need to be defended because it is not a belief. It is a direct experience of being, of consciousness, of the eternal presence that you are. And yet, the mind will resist this. It will say, "But what if they are wrong? What if they're spreading lies about me? What if my reputation is damaged? What if people believe them instead of me?" These are the ego's concerns, and they feel very real, very urgent. But ask yourself, who is concerned? Who is worried about reputation? It is the mental image, the self-concept, the story of me. And yes, in the practical world, reputation can matter. There may be times when clarification is needed, when speaking up is appropriate, when silence would be harmful. But even then, you can speak from presence rather than from defense. You can state what is true without needing the other person to agree. You can clarify without attacking. You can stand in your truth without making them wrong. The difference is subtle but profound. Defense comes from fear, from the belief that you are under attack, that something essential is at risk. Clarity comes from peace, from a deep knowing that transcends the situation, that sees the bigger picture, that understands that this moment, this conflict, this misunderstanding, is just a tiny ripple on the surface of a vast ocean. When you speak from clarity, your words carry a different energy. They are not charged with emotion, not laced with judgment, not designed to wound or diminish. They simply state what is, and then they let go of the outcome. Whether the other person hears you or not, whether they change their mind or not, whether they apologize or not, becomes irrelevant. You have spoken your truth, and that is enough. This is the essence of non-defense. It is not about being silent when you should speak. It is about speaking without attachment, without the need to control how your words are received, without the desperate hope that you can change someone's mind and thereby validate your own sense of self. It is about trusting that the truth does not need to be defended, that it stands on its own, that it reveals itself in its own time, in its own way. And if it does not, if the misunderstanding persists, if the judgment remains, you are still okay. You are still whole. You are still free. Consider how much of your mental energy is consumed by defending yourself, not just in actual conversations, but in the endless internal dialogues that run through your mind. You replay past interactions, thinking of what you should have said, how you could have explained yourself better, how you could have made them understand. You rehearse future conversations, preparing your defense, building your case, anticipating their objections. This is the ego's favorite activity, and is utterly exhausting. It keeps you trapped in time, in the past and future, never fully here, never fully present, never fully alive. When you stop defending, even just in your own mind, something remarkable happens. The internal dialogue begins to quiet. The constant commentary, the endless analysis, the repetitive thoughts, they start to lose their grip. And in the space that opens up, you discover something that has always been there, but was obscured by the noise. You discover the peace of your own being, the stillness that is your true nature, the silence that is not empty but full of presence, full of awareness, full of life itself. This silence is not the absence of sound. It is the space in which sound arises. It is not the absence of thought. It is the awareness in which thought appears. You can be in the middle of a busy city, surrounded by noise and activity, and still be in touch with this inner silence. You can be engaged in conversation, thinking, planning, doing, and still be rooted in this deeper dimension. It is always here, always accessible, always waiting for you to return to it. And every time you choose not to defend, every time you let go of the need to be right, every time you rest in presence instead of resistance, you are returning home. Home is not a place. It is a state of being. It is a recognition that you are already complete, already whole, already enough, exactly as you are, without needing to prove anything, achieve anything, or become anything other than what you already are. The ego cannot understand this. It is built on the belief that you are incomplete, that you need to become something more, something better, something different. It drives you forward with promises of future fulfillment, future happiness, future peace. If only you can achieve this goal, acquire that thing, become that person. But the future never comes. There is only ever this moment. And in this moment, you are either present or you are lost in thought, either at peace or in resistance, either home or searching for home in all the wrong places. Not defending yourself is a way of coming home. It is a way of saying, I do not need to prove my worth. I do not need to control how others see me. I do not need to be right in order to be okay. I am okay right now, in this moment, regardless of what anyone thinks or says or believes about me. This is not arrogance. Arrogance is the ego pretending to be confident, puffing itself up, asserting its superiority. This is humility, true humility, which is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. It is a recognition that the self you've been defending all these years is not real, and therefore does not need defending. What is real cannot be threatened. What is false cannot be protected. When you know this, when you truly understand this, the whole game of defense and attack, of right and wrong, of me versus you, collapses. You see it for what it is, a dream, a collective hallucination, a story that humanity has been telling itself for thousands of years. And you can choose to step out of the story, not by leaving the world, not by withdrawing from life, but by being in the world without being of it, by participating fully while remaining rooted in the awareness that transcends all stories, all conflicts, all separation. This awareness, this consciousness, this presence, it is not personal. It is not yours or mine. It is the one awareness looking through all eyes, listening through all ears, experiencing itself through every form. When you rest in this awareness, you begin to see that there is no real separation between you and the person criticizing you. You are both expressions of the same consciousness, temporarily identified with different forms, different stories, different perspectives. The criticism is consciousness criticizing itself. Awareness playing a game of forgetting and remembering, of losing itself in form and then recognizing itself again. From this perspective, how can you take anything personally? How can you defend yourself when there is no separate self to defend? This is not a philosophical concept to be believed. It is a reality to be experienced, to be lived, to be embodied. And it begins with the simple practice of not defending, of allowing the ego's reactions to be seen without being acted upon, of choosing presence over resistance, again and again, until it becomes your natural way of being. The journey from ego to presence is not a journey in space or time. It is a shift in perception, a change in identification, a letting go of what you thought you were and a recognition of what you have always been. It happens in an instant, and yet it unfolds over a lifetime. Every moment offers a new opportunity to choose, to wake up, to remember. And every time you choose not to defend, you are choosing to wake up. You are choosing to remember. You are choosing freedom over bondage, peace over conflict, love over fear. Love, in its truest sense, is not an emotion. It is a state of being. It is what remains when the ego dissolves, when the barriers between self and other fall away, when you recognize the same consciousness in every being, when you do not defend yourself. You are creating space for this love to emerge. You are not meeting attack with attack, judgment with judgment, ego with ego. You are meeting it with presence, with acceptance, with a deep understanding that sees beyond the surface drama to the underlying unity. This does not mean you condone harmful behavior. It does not mean you allow yourself to be abused. It means you respond from wisdom rather than from reaction, from clarity rather than from confusion, from strength rather than from fear. There is a strength in vulnerability, in allowing yourself to be seen without the armored defense, without the mask of the ego. The ego believes that vulnerability is weakness, that if you do not defend yourself, you will be destroyed. But the opposite is true. When you defend, you are operating from weakness, from a fear that you are not enough, that you need to prove yourself, that you need to control how others perceive you. When you do not defend, when you stand in your truth without needing validation, you're operating from strength, from a deep knowing that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. This knowing is not something you acquire. It is something you uncover. It has always been there, beneath the layers of conditioning, beneath the stories and beliefs, beneath the endless mental noise. It is the ground of your being, the foundation upon which everything else rests. And the more you rest in it, the more you recognize it, the more it becomes your lived reality. Life continues to happen. Challenges continue to arise. People continue to misunderstand and judge and criticize, but none of it disturbs the deep peace that you have discovered within yourself. This peace is not dependent on circumstances. It is not something that comes and goes based on whether things are going well or poorly. It is the peace that passes understanding, the peace that is always here, always available, always waiting for you to notice it. And you notice it by becoming still, by bringing your attention out of mind and into the present moment, by feeling the aliveness in your body, by listening to the silence beneath the sound, by resting in the awareness that is reading these words right now. Who is reading these words? Not the person you think you are, not the story, not the history, not the accumulated identity. That is just a thought, a mental construct. What is reading these words is awareness itself, consciousness, the eternal presence that you are, and this awareness does not need to defend itself. It cannot be threatened, cannot be diminished, cannot be harmed. It simply is, and in its isness, it is complete, whole, perfect, exactly as it is. When you know yourself as this awareness, when you rest in this knowing, the need to defend yourself dissolves like mist in the morning sun. It simply evaporates, leaving behind a clarity, a lightness, a freedom that is beyond description. You move through life with a different quality, a different energy. You are no longer carrying the weight of the ego, the burden of constantly maintaining and defending a self-image. You are simply here, present, alive, responsive to what is, without resistance, without the need to make things different than they are. This does not mean you become passive or indifferent to life. Quite the opposite. When you are not consumed by the ego's drama, when you are not constantly defending and protecting a mental image, you have so much more energy available for life itself. You can engage more fully, love more deeply, create more freely, because you're not holding back, not protecting yourself, not afraid of being hurt or diminished. You know that your true nature cannot be hurt, cannot be diminished, and this knowing allows you to open yourself to life in a way that was not possible before. There is a joy in this openness, a lightness, a sense of play. Life becomes less serious, less heavy, less burdened by the weight of self-importance. The ego takes everything personally, makes everything about me, turns every situation into a potential threat or opportunity for self-enhancement. But when you are rooted in presence, you see that life is not personal. It is simply happening, unfolding, expressing itself through infinite forms and situations. You are one of those forms, one of those expressions, and you can enjoy the dance without needing to control it, without needing to make it conform to your preferences, without needing to defend your position in it. Watch a child at play, completely absorbed in the moment, not thinking about the past or the future, not worried about what others think, not defending any position or identity. There is a freedom in that, a spontaneity, a joy that comes from being fully present. You had that once, before the ego formed, before you learned to identify with thought, before you started building and defending a self-image. And you can have it again, not by going back to childhood, but by going forward into presence, into the awakened state that is your true nature. The awakened state is not something you achieve in the future. It is here now, available in this moment, waiting for you to recognize it. Every time you choose not to defend, you are recognizing it. Every time you let go of the need to be right, you are recognizing it. Every time you rest in the stillness beneath thought, you are recognizing it. And gradually, through this repeated recognition, it becomes more and more your primary experience, until one day you realize that you are no longer seeking awakening, you are living it. Living from awakening does not mean you never have thoughts, never have emotions, never have challenges. It means you are no longer identified with them. You see them as movements in consciousness, as weather patterns passing to the sky of your awareness. Sometimes the weather is pleasant. Sometimes it is stormy, but the sky remains unchanged, vast, spacious, always here. You are the sky, not the weather. And when you know this, when you live from this knowing, the weather loses its power to disturb you. Someone criticizes you, and you feel the initial contraction, the impulse to defend, but you do not follow it. You simply notice it, feel it in your body, watch it arise and pass away. And in that watching, in that space of awareness, you are free. The criticism is just sound, just vibration, just another movement in consciousness. It does not define you, does not diminish you, does not require response. You can respond if it is appropriate, if there is something practical that needs to be addressed, but you do not respond from the ego, from the need to defend. You respond from presence, from clarity, from a place that is not threatened by the criticism because it knows it is not the story being criticized. This is a great liberation, the freedom that comes from disidentification with form, with thought, with the mental construct of self. You are still here, still functioning, still engaging with life, but you are no longer trapped in the prison of the ego. You are no longer a slave to the need for approval, the fear of criticism, the constant effort to maintain and defend an image. You are simply being, and in that being there is a peace, a joy, a love that is not dependent on anything external. This love is not directed at anyone or anything in particular. It is simply the natural state of being when the ego is not in the way. It radiates from you without effort, without intention, without needing anything in return. It is a love that sees the divine in every form, the consciousness in every being, the perfection in every moment, even the difficult ones, even the painful ones, even the ones that the ego would label as wrong or bad. From the perspective of presence, nothing is wrong. Everything is as it is, and in its isness, it is perfect, because it is an expression of the one consciousness, the one life, the one being that manifests as all things. When you see this, when you truly see this, how can you defend yourself? Against what? Against whom? You are defending a dream against another dream, a story against another story, a temporary form against another temporary form. But beneath all the forms, beneath all the stories, there is only one consciousness, one awareness, one being. And that being is what you are, not the person you think you are, not the body, not the mind, not the history, but the awareness in which all of that appears. This awareness is not something you can grasp with the mind. The mind can point to it, can talk about it, can create concepts and philosophies around it, but it cannot know it directly. Only awareness can know awareness. Only consciousness can know consciousness. And this knowing is not intellectual. It is experiential, immediate, direct. It is a knowing of being, the certainty of existence, the undeniable reality of I am. Not I am this or I am that. Not I am a good person or I am a bad person. Not I am successful or I am a failure. Just I am. Pure being, pure existence, pure consciousness. Without any qualification, without any story, without any need be anything other than what it is. This is your true nature, and it is always here, always accessible, always waiting for you to stop defending the false and recognize the true. The false is the ego, the mental construct, the story of me. The true is the awareness, the consciousness, the presence that you are, and the recognition of the true does not require the destruction of the false. It simply requires seeing the false for what it is, a thought, a pattern, a habit, not a reality. When you see this, the false loses its power. It may still arise, the ego may still react, the impulse to defend may still come, but you are no longer identified with it. You see it as a movement in consciousness, not as who you are. And in that seeing, in that disidentification, there is freedom, not freedom from life, not freedom from challenges or difficulties, but freedom within life, freedom in the midst of whatever is happening. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances, no longer dependent on things going your way, no longer needing to defend yourself against the inevitable ups and downs of human existence. You are rooted in something deeper, something that does not change, something that is always at peace, always whole, always free. This is what it means to never defend yourself. It is not a rule or a technique. It is a natural expression of awakening, of living from presence rather than from ego, of knowing yourself as awareness rather than as a story. And it transforms everything. Your relationships become more authentic, more loving, more peaceful, because you are no longer bringing the ego's agenda into them. Your work becomes more creative, more fulfilling, more effortless, because you're no longer trying to prove yourself, no longer seeking validation through achievement. Your inner life becomes more spacious, more quiet, more joyful, because you're no longer consumed by the endless mental drama of defense and attack. Life becomes simpler, not because the external circumstances become simpler, but because you're no longer complicating them with resistance, with a need to make them different, with a constant effort to defend and protect a self that does not exist. You are simply here, present, alive, responding to what is without the burden of the past, without the anxiety of the future, without the weight of self-importance. And in this simplicity, there is a richness, a depth, a beauty that was always here but was obscured by the noise of the mind, the beauty of existence itself, the miracle of being, the extraordinary fact that there is something rather than nothing, and that you are here to experience it, to witness it, to be it. This is not something to be taken for granted. It is not something to be overlooked in the rush to defend your position, to prove your worth, to maintain your image. It is the most precious thing there is, and it is available to you right now, in this moment. If you simply stop, breathe, and become present. Presence is a doorway to everything that is real, everything that is true, everything that is lasting. The ego's world is a world of shadows, of illusions, of temporary forms that arise and pass away. The world of presence is a world of being, of consciousness, of the eternal now that is always here, always fresh, always new. And you can live in this world, not by leaving the physical world, not by withdrawing from life, but by being fully here, fully present, fully alive, while remaining rooted in the awareness that transcends all form. This is the invitation, the call, the possibility that is always available. Not in the future, not when you have achieved something or become someone, but now, in this moment, exactly as you are. You do not need to be more spiritual, more enlightened, more awakened. You simply need to recognize what you already are, what you have always been, what you can never not be. And this recognition begins with the simple act of not defending, of letting go of the need to be right, of resting in the stillness that is your true nature. Try it now in this moment. Feel the sensations in your body, the weight of your body wherever you are sitting or standing, the temperature of the air on your skin, the rhythm of your breath moving in and out. Notice the sounds around you, not labeling them, not judging them, just hearing them as pure vibration, as energy moving through space. And notice the awareness that is noticing all this, the consciousness that is aware of sensations, the sounds, the breath. That awareness is what you are, not the body, not the thoughts, not the story, but the awareness itself. And this awareness, can it be criticized? Can it be diminished? Can it be threatened? No. It is untouchable, unchangeable, eternal. It is the same awareness that was here when you were a child, that will be here when you are old, that is here right now, always the same, always present, always free. And when you rest in this awareness, when you know yourself as this, the need to defend yourself simply does not arise. How can awareness defend itself? Against what? It is all there is. Everything appears in it. Everything is made of it. Everything returns to it. This is the ultimate truth, the final realization, the end of seeking and the beginning of being. Not a dramatic event, not a mystical experience, though those may come, but simple, quiet recognition that you are not who you thought you were, that you are something infinitely more vast, more profound, more beautiful than any story could capture. And this recognition changes everything, not by changing the external world, but by changing your relationship to it, by freeing you from the prison of the ego, by revealing the peace and joy and love that have always been here, waiting for you to come home. Home is here. Home is now. Home is the present moment, fully embraced, fully accepted, fully lived. And in this home, there is no need for defense, no need for protection, no need for the constant vigilance of the ego. There is only being, only presence, only the quiet joy of existence itself. This is what you are invited to discover, not through effort, not through striving, not through becoming something you are not, but through relaxing into what you already are, through letting go of what you are not, through allowing the false to fall away and the true to reveal itself. And it will reveal itself, not because you make it happen, but because it is your nature. Just as water naturally flows downhill, just as a flower naturally opens to the sun, consciousness naturally recognizes itself when the obstacles are removed. And the primary obstacle is the ego, the belief in a separate self that must be defended, protected, maintained. When you see through this belief, when you recognize it as just a thought, just a pattern, just a habit, it loses its power. And in that loss of power, there is a gain of freedom, a gain of peace, a gain of love. This love is not something you do. It is something you are when you're not doing anything, when you're not trying to be anything, when you are simply present, simply here, simply being. It is a love that is no opposite, that includes everything, that rejects nothing, that sees the divine in all forms, even the difficult ones, even the painful ones, even the ones that the ego would push away. This love is your true nature, and it is always here, always available, always waiting for you to stop defending the false and recognize the true. So the next time someone criticizes you, the next time someone judges you, the next time someone misunderstands you, remember this. Remember that you are not the story they are telling about you. Remember that you are not the story you are telling about yourself. Remember that you are the awareness in which all stories appear, the consciousness that witnesses all thoughts, the presence that is always here, always now, always free. And from that remembering, choose not to defend. Choose to be still. Choose to rest in the peace that passes understanding, the peace that is your true nature, the peace that cannot be disturbed by any external circumstance. This is the greatest lesson, the deepest teaching, the most profound truth. Not to defend yourself is not to be weak. It is to be strong with a strength that does not come from the ego, that does not depend on being right or winning or controlling. It is the strength of presence, the strength of awareness, the strength of being itself. And this strength is available to you right now, in this moment, if you simply stop, breathe, and become present. The world will continue to spin. People will continue to judge and criticize and misunderstand. Challenges will continue to arise. But none of it will touch the deeper dimension of who you are. You will move through life with a different quality, a different energy, a different presence. You will be in a world, but not of it, engaged but not entangled, responsive but not reactive. And in this way of being, you will discover freedom, a peace, a joy that is beyond anything the ego could ever provide. This is not a promise of a life without difficulties. It is not a guarantee that everything will go your way, that people will always understand you, that you will never face criticism or judgment. It is something deeper, something more real, something that does not depend on external circumstances. It is a recognition that beneath all the surface drama, beneath all the ups and downs, beneath all the stories and conflicts, there is a stillness, a peace, a presence that is always here, always available, always free. And when you live from this place, when you make this your home, life becomes not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. Not a battle to be won, but a dance to be enjoyed. Not a burden to be carried, but a gift to be received. Receive it now, not in the future, not when you've figured everything out, not when you'll become enlightened, but now, in this moment, exactly as you are already whole. You are already complete. You are already free. You just have not recognized it yet, because you've been too busy defending a self that does not exist, protecting an image that is not real, maintaining a story that is just a story. Let it go. Let it all go. Not through effort, not through force, but through seeing, through understanding, through the simple recognition that you are not what you thought you were. You are awareness. You are consciousness. You are presence. You are the eternal now, the infinite here, the boundless being that manifests as all things. And when you know this, when you live from this knowing, the need to defend yourself dissolves like a dream upon waking. You realize that there was never anything to defend, that the whole drama was just a play of consciousness, a game of hide and seek that consciousness plays with itself. And now the game is over. Now you have found yourself. Now you are home, and from this home, from this place of deep peace and presence, you can engage with life in a completely new way. You can have opinions without being attached to them. You can have preferences without needing them to be fulfilled. You can have goals without being identified with their achievement. You can have relationships without needing them to validate you. You can have challenges without being overwhelmed by them. You can have success without being inflated by it. You can have failure without being diminished by it. Because you know that none of it defines you. None of it is who you are. None of it can touch the deeper dimension of your being. This deeper dimension is always here, always accessible, always waiting. It does not require special circumstances, special practices, special states of consciousness. It is here right now, in the midst of your ordinary life, in the midst of your ordinary experience, in the midst of your ordinary moment. You just need to notice it, to turn your attention toward it, to rest in it. And the simplest way to do this is to stop defending, to let go of the need to be right, to allow this moment to be exactly as it is without resistance. In this allowing, in this acceptance, in this surrender, something miraculous happens. The struggle ends. The conflict dissolves. The peace that you have been seeking reveals itself as what you already are. Not something you achieve, not something you attain, not something you become, but something you recognize, something you remember, something you have always been but forgotten the dream of separation, in the illusion of the ego, in the story of me. The story of me is just that, a story. It is not true. It is not real. It is a collection of thoughts, memories, beliefs, held together by repetition and identification. And you can let it go. You can release it. You can see it for what it is and choose to no longer be defined by it. This does not mean you lose your personality, your preferences, your unique expression. It means you are no longer imprisoned by them, no longer limited by them, no longer suffering because of them. You are free to be yourself, your true self, the self that is not a self, the being that is pure consciousness, pure awareness, pure presence. And this being, this consciousness, this awareness, it is not separate from anything. It is not isolated, not alone, not cut off from the rest of existence. It is the very fabric of existence, the ground of all being, the source from which all forms arise and to which all forms return. When you know yourself as this, you know yourself as everything, not in a conceptual way, not as a belief, but as a direct experience, as a lived reality. You feel the connection, the unity, the oneness that underlies all apparent separation. And in that feeling, there's a love, a compassion, a deep understanding that transforms how you relate to everything and everyone. You no longer see others as separate from you, as potential threats or sources of validation. You see them as expressions of the same consciousness, as waves in the same ocean, as forms of the same formless being. And when someone criticizes you, you understand that they are not really criticizing you. They are expressing their own pain, their own conditioning, their own story. And you can meet that with compassion rather than with defense, with understanding rather than with attack, with presence rather than with reaction. This is the transformation that happens when you stop defending yourself. It is not just about you. It is about the entire field of consciousness in which you exist. When you choose presence over ego, when you choose awareness over identification, when you choose peace over conflict, you are not just changing yourself. You are changing the collective consciousness, adding to the light, contributing to the awakening of humanity. Every moment of presence, every choice not to defend, every instance of resting in awareness, sends ripples to the field, affecting everything and everyone in ways you cannot see or measure but are nonetheless real. This is your contribution, your gift, your purpose. Not to achieve great things, not to become someone important, not to leave a legacy, but simply to be present, to be aware, to be awake. This is enough. This is everything. Because in your awakening, consciousness awakens to itself. In your presence, the divine recognizes itself. In your peace, the world finds peace. Not because you're special, not because you're different, but because you're the same as everyone and everything, the same consciousness expressing itself through a unique form, and when that form becomes transparent to its source, the light shines through. Let the light shine through. Let go of the need to defend, to protect, to maintain the illusion of separation. Let yourself be seen truly seen, not as a story you tell about yourself, but as the awareness that you are. This is vulnerability in its highest form, not weakness but strength, not exposure but revelation, not risk but truth. And in this truth, there is nothing to fear, nothing to lose, nothing to defend, because you are not a thing that can be lost or damaged or destroyed. You are the eternal, the infinite, the unchanging awareness in which all things appear and disappear. Things will appear and disappear. People will come and go. Situations will arise and resolve. Praise will come and criticism will come. Success will come and failure will come. But through it all, you remain the unchanging witness, the silent observer, the presence that is always here. And when you know this, when you live from this, nothing can disturb your peace. Nothing can shake your foundation. Nothing can take away your joy. Because your peace, your foundation, your joy, they do not depend on anything external. They are what you are, the very nature of your being, always here, always available, always free. This is the freedom that comes from not defending yourself. It is not freedom from life, not freedom from challenges, not freedom from a human experience. It is freedom within life, freedom in the midst of challenges, freedom as a human experience. It is the freedom to be fully human without being imprisoned by humanity, to have thoughts without being trapped by thinking, to have emotions without being overwhelmed by feeling, to have a story without being defined by it. It is the freedom to live, to love, to be, without the constant burden of self-protection, without the endless effort of maintaining an image, without the exhausting drama of the ego. And this freedom is not something you earn or deserve or achieve. It is your birthright, your natural state, what you are when you're not trying to be anything. It is always here, always waiting, always available. You just need to stop, to be still, to notice the awareness that is noticing these words, to notice the presence that is present right now, to notice the being that is being, without any effort, without any doing, without any becoming. Just being, just here, just now. This is the essence of the teaching, the heart of the message, the core of the truth. You are not who you think you are. You are not the story, not the ego, not the mental construct that needs defending. You are the awareness, the consciousness, the presence that is reading these words right now. And this awareness cannot be threatened, cannot be diminished, cannot be harmed. It is what you are, what you have always been, what you will always be. And when you know this, truly know this, not as a concept but as a lived reality, the need to defend yourself simply falls away. It falls away not because you force it to, not because you make it happen, but because it is seen for what it is, a habit, a pattern, a conditioned response that is no longer necessary. You see that you are defending something that does not exist, protecting something that does not need protection, maintaining something that is not real. And in that seeing, there is a release, a letting go, a relaxation into what has always been, into the peace that is your true nature. This peace is not the absence of activity. It is not the absence of thought or emotion or experience. It is the presence of awareness, the stillness that is always here beneath the movement, the silence that is always here beneath the sound, the space that is always here beneath the form. And you can access this peace at any moment, in any situation, no matter what is happening, by simply bringing your attention to the present moment, by feeling the aliveness in your body, by noticing the awareness that is aware. Do it now, right now, in this moment. Bring your attention to your breath. Feel the air moving in through your nose or mouth, filling your lungs, and then moving out again. Do not try to control it. Do not try to change it. Just feel it. Just notice it. Just be with it. And as you do this, notice that there is an awareness that is aware of the breath. This awareness is not the breath. It is not the body. It is not the thought about the breath. It is the consciousness that is aware of all of it. And this consciousness, this awareness, this is what you are. Rest in this awareness for a moment. Let everything else fade into the background. Let the thoughts come and go without following them. Let the sensations arise and pass without clinging to them. Just rest in the simple awareness of being, of existing, of being here, now, alive, present. And notice the peace that is here, the stillness that is here, the silence that is here. This is not something you created. This is not something you achieved. This is what you are when you are not doing anything, when you are not trying to be anything, when you are simply being. And from this place of being, from this place of presence, from this place of awareness, you can engage with life in a completely new way. You can respond to criticism without defending. You can face challenges without resisting. You can experience pain without suffering. You can live fully without being imprisoned by life, because you know that you are not the form, you are the formless. You are not the wave, you are the ocean. You are not the story, you are the awareness in which the story appears. This is the shift, the transformation, the awakening. It is not a dramatic event, though it can be. It is not a mystical experience, though those may come. It is a simple, quiet recognition that changes everything. You realize that you have been defending something that does not need defending, protecting something that cannot be harmed, maintaining something that is not real. And in that realization, there is a freedom, a lightness, a joy that is beyond description. This joy is not dependent on circumstances. It is not something that comes from getting what you want or avoiding what you do not want. It is a joy of being itself, the joy of existence, the joy of consciousness recognizing itself. It is always here, always available, always waiting for you to notice it. And you notice it by becoming present, by letting go of the past and the future, by releasing the need to defend and protect and maintain, by simply being here now, alive, aware. This is the invitation. This is a call. This is the possibility that is always available, not in some distant future, not in some special place, not in some altered state, but here now, in this ordinary moment, in this ordinary experience, in this ordinary life. You do not need to be special to awaken. You do not need to be spiritual or enlightened or perfect. You just need to be present, to be aware, to be willing to let go of what you are not and recognize what you are. And what you are is magnificent. Not in the way the ego understands magnificence, not as something special or superior or better than others, but as the very essence of existence, as consciousness itself, as the awareness that is aware of all things. This is what you are, and it is what everyone is, and it is what everything is. There is only one consciousness, one awareness, one being, expressing itself through infinite forms, and you are that. Not a part of it, not a piece of it, but the whole of it, experiencing itself from a particular perspective, through a particular form. When you know this, when you truly know this, how can you defend yourself? Against what? Against whom? You are defending one form of consciousness against another form of consciousness, one expression of being against another expression of being, one wave against another wave, forgetting that you are both the ocean. And when you remember that you are the ocean, the whole game of defense and attack, of right and wrong, of me versus you, is seen for what it is, a dream, a play, a temporary forgetting of the underlying unity. And in that remembering, in that recognition, in that awakening, there is a love that is no opposite, a peace that passes understanding, a joy that is not dependent on anything. This is your true nature, and it is always here, always available, always waiting for you to come home. And you come home not by going anywhere, not by doing anything, not by becoming anything, but by simply being, by simply noticing, by simply recognizing what you already are. So let this be your practice, your path, your way, not to defend yourself, not to engage with the ego's drama, not to get caught in the endless cycle of attack and defense, of right and wrong, of me versus you, but to rest in presence, to abide in awareness, to be the consciousness that you are, and from this place, respond to life, engage with life, participate in life, but without the burden of the ego, without the need to prove yourself, without the constant effort to maintain an image. This is freedom. This is peace. This is love. And it is yours right now in this moment. If you simply stop defending what you are not and recognize what you are. You are not the story. You are not the ego. You are not the mental construct that needs protecting. You are the awareness, the consciousness, the presence that is always here, always now, always free. And when you know this, when you live from this, everything changes. Not the external world, but your relationship to it. Not the circumstances, but your experience of them. Not life itself, but your way of being in life. And this way of being, this way of living, this way of existing, It is available to you right now, not as something you achieve in the future, not as something you earn through effort, not as something you become through practice, but as something you recognize, something you remember, something you are when you stop trying to be anything else. Just be, just here, just now, just this. And in this simple being, in this simple presence, in this simple awareness, you'll find everything you've been seeking, everything you've been longing for, everything you've been defending yourself to protect. Because what you have been defending is not real. What you have been protecting does not exist. What you have been maintaining is just a story, just a thought, just a pattern of conditioning. And when you see this, when you truly see this, the whole structure collapses, not in a catastrophic way, but in a liberating way. The prison walls dissolve, and you realize you were never imprisoned. The chains fall away, and you realize you were never bound. The burden lifts, and you realize you were never carrying anything real. You were carrying a dream, a story, an illusion, and now you can put it down. You can let it go. You can release it, not through effort, not through struggle, not through force, but through seeing, through understanding, through the simple recognition that it was never real in the first place. And in that recognition, there is a lightness, a freedom, a joy that is beyond anything the ego could ever provide. This is the gift of not defending yourself. This is the blessing of letting go. This is the grace of awakening. And it is available to you right now, in this moment, if you simply choose it. Choose presence over ego. Choose awareness over identification. Choose peace over conflict. Choose love over fear. Choose to be what you are rather than what you think you should be. Choose to rest in stillness rather than engage in the drama. Choose to recognize the truth rather than defend the illusion. And in this choice, in this moment, in this simple act of not defending, you are awakening. You are coming home. You are recognizing what you have always been, but forgot in the dream of separation. You are the awareness, the consciousness, the presence that is always here, always now, always free. And this awareness, this consciousness, this presence, it is not something you have. It is what you are. It is not something you achieve. It is what you already are. It is not something you become. It is what you have always been. So rest in this knowing. Abide in this truth. Lie from this awareness. And let the need to defend yourself fall away like leaves from a tree in autumn, naturally, effortlessly, without resistance. Let it go and discover what remains. What remains is peace. What remains is joy. What remains is love. What remains is you, your true self, the self that is not a self, the being that is pure consciousness, pure awareness, pure presence. And this being, this consciousness, this awareness, it is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything. It is all there is. And when you know this, when you live from this, when you are this, you will never need to defend yourself again. Because you will know that there is nothing to defend, nothing to protect, nothing to maintain. There is only being, only presence, only the eternal now. And in that now you are free. You have always been free. You will always be free. You just forgot for a while, lost in the dream of the ego, lost in the story of separation, lost in the illusion of a self that needs defending. But now you can remember. Now you can wake up. Now you can recognize what you are. And in that recognition, everything changes. Not the world, but your experience of the world. Not life, but your relationship to life. Not others, but your way of being with others. You become a presence, a peace, a love that transforms everything it touches. Not through doing, not through effort, not through trying to change anything, but simply through being, through presence, through awareness. This is your gift to the world. This is your contribution. This is your purpose. Not to achieve great things, not to become someone important, not to leave a legacy, but simply to be present, to be aware, to be awake. And in your awakening, you help others to awaken. In your presence, you invite others into presence. In your peace, you offer others peace. Not through words, not through teaching, not through preaching, but simply through being what you are, through living from your true nature, through embodying the awareness that you are. And this embodiment, this living, this being, it starts with a simple choice not to defend yourself, not to engage with the ego's drama, not to get caught in the endless cycle of attack and defense, but to rest in presence, to abide in awareness, to be the consciousness that you are. And from this place, everything flows naturally, effortlessly, joyfully. Life becomes not a problem to be solved, but a gift to be received, not a battle to be won, but a dance to be enjoyed, not a burden to be carried, but a blessing to be celebrated. Celebrate it now. Celebrate this moment. Celebrate this breath. Celebrate this awareness. Celebrate the fact that you are here, alive, conscious, aware. This is not something to take for granted. This is not something to overlook. This is the miracle, the mystery, the magic of existence. And you are it. You are the miracle. You are the mystery. You are the magic. Not as a separate individual, not as a special person, but as consciousness itself, as awareness itself, as being itself, expressing through this particular form, in this particular moment, in this particular way. And this expression, this manifestation, this appearance, it is perfect exactly as it is. Not perfect in the sense that it cannot be improved, not perfect in the sense that it is without flaws, but perfect in the sense that it is exactly what it is. And what it is an expression of the infinite, a manifestation of the eternal, a form of the formless. And when you see this, when you recognize this, when you know this, how can you defend it? How can you protect it? How can you maintain it? It is already perfect. It is already complete. It is already whole. You are already perfect. You are already complete. You are already whole. Not because you have achieved something, not because you have become something, not because you have done something, but because you are something, and what you are is consciousness, awareness, presence, the eternal being that manifests as all things. And this being does not need defending. It cannot be threatened. It cannot be diminished. It cannot be harmed. It simply is, and in its isness, it is perfect, complete, whole, free. So be free. Be what you are. Stop defending what you are not. Stop protecting the illusion. Stop maintaining the story. Let it all go and discover what remains. What remains is you, your true self, the self that has no opposite, the self that is not separate from anything, the self that is the very fabric of existence. And this self, this being, this consciousness, it is always here, always now, always available, always free. It is free right now. You are free right now. Not in the future, not when you've figured everything out, not when you become enlightened, but now, in this moment, exactly as you are. The freedom is here. The peace is here. The joy is here. The love is here. You just need to notice it, to recognize it, to rest in it. And you do this by not defending, by not resisting, by not trying to make this moment different than it is. You do this by simply being here, fully, completely, totally, without reservation, without resistance, without the need to protect or defend or maintain anything. Just be, just here, just now. And in this simple being, in this simple presence, in this simple awareness, you will find everything. You will find peace. You will find joy. You will find love. You will find freedom. You will find yourself, your true self, the self that you have always been but forgotten in the dream of separation, an illusion of the ego, and the story of a self that needs defending. But you do not need defending. You never did. You never will. Because you are not what you thought you were. You are not the story, not the ego, not the mental construct. You are the awareness, the consciousness, the presence that is always here, always now, always free. And this awareness, this consciousness, this presence, it is indestructible, unchangeable, eternal. It is what you are, what you have always been, what you will always be. And when you know this, truly know this, not as a concept but as a lived reality, the need to defend yourself simply disappears. It disappears not because you make it disappear, not because you force it away, but because it is seen for what it is, a habit, a pattern, a conditioned response that is no longer necessary. You see that you are defending something that does not exist, protecting something that does not need protection, maintaining something that is not real. And in that seeing, there is a release, a letting go, a relaxation into what has always been, into the peace that is your true nature. And now, the words fade, but the silence remains. If you felt the stillness within this message, stay. Subscribe, not to follow, but to remember again and again that presence is always here, waiting beneath every thought. The true teaching is not in the words you just heard, but in the space between them.